Welcome back to Yev's Builds, and in this one we're going to be doing the common issues on these E36 M3s, and that's going to be the clutch fan and the radiator. Cooling issues for days, but it's not even an issue. It's more of the clutch fan just busted on Dennis while he was driving. This thing is pretty sweet. It's sitting on, you know, it's got that Chelsea Denofa special. It's sitting on coilovers. Cool story about this M3, actually, it did belong to Chelsea Denofa. If you don't know who Chelsea Denofa is, that's a professional Formula 1 drifter. It was his wife's car, also named Chelsea Denofa. Super cool people. Got a short shifter on it, feels really good. A little too tall, but feels pretty good in terms of when you're shifting and you're driving. Sometimes first, third, and fifth, you kind of hit your knuckles right up on this plastic over here, but it's nice. Honestly, overall, besides like this tear and like little things like that, this thing is in really sweet condition, man. The front bumper has a couple scuffs on here, but dude, this is for a 98, dude, this thing is in immaculate condition, I have to say. Dennis was driving one time and all of a sudden heard a big knock. As it turns out, the clutch fan just took a complete dump and it just blew up and it blew the radiator. And he also says he has an oil leak somewhere. So we're gonna be inspecting that. We're gonna be replacing the radiator and we're gonna be replacing the clutch fan. So as you can see, the shroud is completely demolished. The radiator is busted, and then that line also busted. Gotta remove that. First we'll start out by removing all the plastic and a couple Phillips screws over here. This should come off right there and then. Yeah, so this is just two clips, man. One on each side, it seems like, or at least in this case. You gotta disconnect that hose, just a little flathead. There we go. Reservoir hose, just pop that off. Disconnect the sensor right here. And the shroud looks like it might be coming off right there and then. The shroud is off. This coolant hose is actually goes through the shroud. I just pull that out, simple. This intake box, there's two clips here, and there's gonna be a 10 mil here, and a 10 mil right to there. You remove this little bracket thing, and this should just pop off. Yeah. There we go. Then this is just a little flathead. You unscrew it, and you got way more room now. To remove the radiator, it's a little bit tricky. There's two tabs here, one on each side. What you want to do is you want to stick your flathead screwdriver right up in here, and you just pull it off just like that. Obviously, make sure all your hoses are disconnected. And the radiator should be coming off just like that, dude. Easy. For you to remove this clutch fan, you need a 1 1/4 inch wrench. You need a giant flathead. And there's gonna be 4 mounting bolts of the water pump. You put the flathead so it'd be sitting up against the actual pulley itself, the screw-on part of it, and it would be leaning up against one of those bolts, and you push down on the bolt. While you take your 1 1/4 inch wrench and you push on it and you unscrew it. Remember, this is reverse thread, so righty is loosey, lefty is tighty. And that's it, dude, unless you have air tools. So Dennis, instead of getting a whole new clutch assembly or whatever, he just got a clutch fan, right? So right there. To replace it is literally just 3 Allen bolts. I believe they're 5 mil. You unscrew them and pay attention to how this sits, right? So when you're removing this, you see how the inside had the little ridges, right? That's gonna be facing towards the engine. Same with this, these little ridges are gonna be going downward onto the actual fan clutch, right? So this way, and they're gonna be facing towards the engine. And then just torque them down, dude. In our case, we have a busted tensioner pulley. It's just a regular T50 Torx. We're gonna remove the belt first, loosen it up. Yep, it's right down there. Cool, that's out. See it? See? See how busted that pulley is? Bruh. You just have to unscrew it with the same Torx. Take the old one off, put the new one on, tighten it up, and you're done. So now we're gonna be replacing the main serpentine belt. Make sure you memorize the position of it in the pattern. So that pulley right there, that is gonna be the main tensioner pulley. That's a 16 mil. And you just pull it down, dude. And it loosens the entire assembly. There you go. Pull the belt out. Solid. So while we're down here, we're gonna be replacing a thermostat, because who knows how this was treated and whatnot. So for the thermostat, it's pretty simple. Looks like there's a 13 mil bolt here, a 13 mil bolt right there. Move the bracket out of the way. Then there's a little 10 millimeter bolt right there for the actual thermostat housing, and the same 10 mil bolt on the bottom right there. We're gonna remove those and it should be able to just pry out. Before we put everything back on, just kind of take a little razor, clean off all this excess stuff as much as you can. Don't jam it in there so it wouldn't make any sort of grooves or anything, but just, you know, keep it flush, under a slight angle, clean up all the stuff as best as you can, and then we'll be putting it all back on. Then you stick your thermostat right in, dude. Put the little O-ring on it, make sure it's all good. Then just torque down the 3 bolts of the housing. Don't do it too much just because it's all aluminum and it's kind of fragile. Make sure when you're tightening down the housing, you tighten bolts little by little, every single one of them. Don't tighten one all the way and then go on to the other one. Tighten all of them kind of in a circular formation just so it seat itself nice and evenly out. If your radiator didn't come with the temperature sensor, make sure you replace that. It's gonna be a 22mm little stopper, little block off nut, bolt, whatever this is. Remove it, put your old temperature sensor back on, you should be good, dude. If you are gonna be going this route, make sure to put some sort of thread seal. Because you don't want this thing to leak, dude. It's gonna defeat the entire purpose. Now's the time for the new radiator, dude. Slide them in. Make sure the little bump stops are kind of sitting in there and in there. Boom. Make sure when you're putting the shroud on that you put it on along with the fan itself, just kind of simultaneously. And when you're putting the shroud back on, you know, that bottom hose is supposed to run through it and it's supposed to come out from right here. And then this top little guy is supposed to be coming up right over here into the shroud, under it, and it's supposed to come out from right here. Just enough for the reservoir to sit right in place. So for the reservoir, it's easier to get that bottom hose on first. Otherwise, you're just not gonna be able to move it around. You get that bottom hose on, and then you get this top little guy on. Much easier this way. Once you get this far in the process, I'm not gonna put this cover in quite yet. We're gonna start pouring in the coolant, make sure it's 50-50, if it's not pre-mixed, but if you're using BMW spec coolant, then it shouldn't be pre-mixed, so you're gonna have to do the work yourself. This entire setup takes about 2.75 gallons of coolant, so keep in mind we're gonna be pouring it in until it stops, like so, and then we're gonna start the car, turn the heater on to the most, and keep pouring it in until we have 2.5, about roughly gallons. Make sure your bleeder's open just a bit. And after your car gets up to warm temperatures and good operating temperatures, once you have no more bubbles coming out of the bleed hole and your car's running at operating temps, then you should be good to go. But keep checking your coolant level after that just to make sure, you know, drive a little bit, check on it, let it cool off, and just keep checking on it. But that's pretty much it. That's how you replace a radiator on an E36 M3. Dude, just subscribe, like, and share, because dude, we have so much stuff coming still. We might be doing some crazy work on this thing. I don't know. Anyway, but just stay tuned. Peace.